Cullen is an Irish priest. His congregation is Philippine children, victims of sexual abuse and forced prostitution. These molested girls have found protection at Preda, the name of the therapy center that Father Shay has built. When the evening prayer is at an end, the Catholic priest takes on a different role as an undercover investigator. Father Shay not only prays with the victims, he also collects evidence against the offenders. For his undercover work in the nightclubs, Father Shay uses a hidden camera.
Okay, tonight now we're going down to the Olongapo city and to the nightclubs and the bars, and we're going to check out a few to see if there's any minors, children who are being sexually exploited in the clubs, and we'll gather some evidence as to what's going on there.
Subic Bay, 3.5 hours distance from the capital city of Manila. The city of Olongapo lies peacefully in the picturesque bay, yet appearances deceive. For half a century, a U.S. Marine base was stationed here, and it transformed Olongapo into a notorious center of prostitution. When the military presence left, the victims remained behind. The grave of Rosario Beluyot. She died in 1987, in her 12th year.
The child had died because a sexual vibrator was inserted into her body by a suspected pedophile who was abusing her. And she died a terrible and a shocking death. And we had to be the one to bury her, and give her a tomb. And the only one to put a plaque on her, on her tomb, from her, the only friends she ever had was those she never knew. Because, she was alone, on the streets as a street child. She died alone, abandoned, with no one to help her. And she remains in this world as a throwaway child. One of the many.
The children from Preda visit Rosaria's grave. These girls might have suffered the same fate. But Father Shay could not stand by while innocent children were being abused by sex tourists in his neighborhood. Some of the girls were forced into prostitution at a very young age. Marlon was molested as a child by her stepfather. She ran away from home and fought her way through trying times. Marlon was 14 when a friendly tourist invited her to Germany.
When I arrived in Germany, I feel that this place is a very nice place, and I really want to stay in this snow place, and I'm so happy. While I arrive, I need a rest and everything. The second day, she told me what I am doing in Germany, and I'm very surprised because she told me that she gave me a customer from Germany, and I need to make money. I had made a customer, many customer, and if I did not follow to their instruction, maybe I did not come to Philippines again. So I must follow to their instruction carefully.
Marlon was able to return to her homeland. When her passport expired, she was sent back to the Philippines. Today, with the help of Preda, she is able to go to school. Marlon is on the way to a better future. Yet in the brothels, thousands of other underage girls must continue to sell their bodies. The poverty and the silence of the politicians drive them into the arms of the pimps. But when Father Shay takes a child out of the red light district, is it not possible that 2 more children will take their place?
Well, that's highly possible. the thing is, we have to try to develop a lot of public awareness about this and see can we get an acceptance of this reality and for people to realize just how damaging it is and how destructive it is to this generation. And that's what we have to explain to the public and to people, that this must end.
In the brothels, the Catholic priest continues his search for child prostitutes and their pimps with his hidden camera. For his undercover investigations, Father Shay becomes Jim, a sex tourist from London.
Yeah, you don't have to be that intelligent to be able to walk around like a tourist. So you just look at like a tourist to these people. And then somebody will approach you and offer you, do you want a child? Or do you want a minor?
When Father Shay meets a pimp, the priest asks him about organizing a sex tour for foreign tourists. And because of the fear of AIDS, they naturally want the youngest possible girls.
Even if we get some tomorrow for the others.
Yeah, of course. So you can see me here tomorrow.
You can see them here. So 14.
I think she's 15. Yeah. Small girl, then long hair, then she's white, and then she's beautiful. Probably. She's not here.
Okay.
We tell the others.
Yeah, we'll set it up with them. Okay, if we can't do it tonight, we'll be here tomorrow night.
Oh yeah.
What's the name?
Robilin.
How about you?
Yeah, we just
How can we find you?
Archie.
Archie.
Okay, just ask Archie.
Co-workers of Father Shay meticulously document the evidence. Over and over again, they infiltrate brothels and find entire groups of child prostitutes. At Preda, the stacks of evidence continue to grow from an illegal business which is strictly forbidden in the Philippines. Yet seldom are the offenders punished, because the alleged guardians of the law earn money from the molestation of children. Father Shay supplies the evidence with his hidden camera.
I saw police went in there.
No, don't worry.
Are we okay here?
Yeah.
Why are we okay?
Because the policeman there, very close.
The policeman is the owner. However, I see the biggest problem is the attitude of local governments. And local governments who are hosting this kind of commercial sexual industry, who have no sense of dignity and respect for the people, they're very oppressive, and they continue to support commercial sex industry in their towns and cities. And that's where we are the biggest problem in confronting these people, in trying to get them to change their policies.
The courthouse of Olongapo. For years, Father Shay and others tried in vain to bring the numerous cases of child prostitution to trial. Finally, in 1995, despite opposition from superiors in the city administration, Dorentino Floresta was nominated as a special district attorney for cases concerning child abuse. According to Floresta, up until 1995, not a single case against pedophiles was brought to court in Olongapo.
I was told that cases filed by the SWD were dismissed by the office of the city prosecutor for reasons which I do not know.
And which personal explanation does Floresta have for this monstrous abuse of rights?
Perhaps they have a wrong interpretation of the law, or perhaps there are some people who are interested in the dismissal of the case.
Since his nomination, District Attorney Floresta has brought almost 400 cases to court in only 3 years, some with successful convictions. Thanks to the vigilance of Father Shay and Preda, the first foreigner was also arrested. Victor F. is a retired businessman from Australia who had settled down in Olongapo. It was a strange twist of fate when one afternoon Father Shay videotaped the Australian sailboat on the beach. From a distance, Father Shay discovered that on board were also Filipino children. He caused such a commotion at the authorities that they had no choice but to respond. An employee of Preda and a policeman went armed with a hidden camera to the pensioner's boat and caught him with 3 small children. Preda has made a complaint about him, the astonished Australian discovers. And as a reaction, he fabricates even more astonishing excuses. The children simply came on board to visit him. Victor is arrested, and Preda helps to take care of the children. Afterwards, the Australian attempted to bribe the parents of the abused children to use whatever means necessary in order to prevent their testimonies from being heard. The chains at the feet of this witness were shackled by her own family. The girl managed to drag herself away and find refuge at Preda. Her evidence assisted with bringing the pedophile into the Olongapo prison, which lies right behind this iron door. Victor F. will stay here for many years, but the sexual exploitation of children continues. Baloy Beach, a meeting place for Western sex tourists on the coast of Olongapo. Video cameras are not welcome here. We are filming with a hidden camera. The beach houses are rented. Nobody asks what goes on inside. In the open streets of Baloy Beach, any casual observer will meet Western tourists with Philippine children. Pedophile sex tourists will always find a good price here for what they are seeking. For a long time, the risk of being caught was very low. In recent times, however, several men under the suspicion of child sexual abuse have been arrested. The evidence that Father Shay had submitted was too incriminating. One who hunts rich tourists finds very few friends.
We're not that very popular here in the city, and they've tried to have me deported, and they made threats against my life and against my staff. It's only last year I was walking with a journalist down by the gate of the former military base, and a group of thugs, came over and attacked both of us, led by the public relation officer of the city mayor. They want to keep us silent, intimidate us, shut us up. But of course, we don't have any intention of doing that.
Father Shay continues his struggle for children's rights because the prosecution of the offender also helps their abused victims.
If ever an injustice has been done to yourself or anybody, and you feel you've been wronged in some way, there's a natural desire that that wrong be put right. Otherwise, you carry that sense of injustice and that hurt with you all your life. Now, rather than going to court being something that is traumatic for the child, once the child has already overcome the anger and hostility in herself, they get a fighting spirit, a spirit of, I have dignity, I have respect, I'm going to fight for my dignity, I'm going to stand up for myself, and I'm going to have justice. So going to court is a healing process.
The lament of the souls of wounded children. This therapeutic treatment for the girls at Preda is guided by a psychologist. In the primal room, we have to release our anger and our traumatic experiences, so we have to be screaming and crying inside that room together with our psychologist, Mrs. Karina. So every time we have some problems and tensions that we've had for some time, we have to tell our psychologist that we need this primal session so that we don't hit someone or show our anger to some residents. Lisa was only 10 years old when she was raped for the first time. Father Shay brought her case before the court. However, the conviction of the offender alone could not heal Lisa's wounds. In the therapy center, Lisa learns how to live with her experience. It is very hard to forget it. In fact, every night I think about it, but I'm trying hard to forget it. Lisa cannot forget what her own relatives have done to her. For years, she was sexually abused by an uncle and her grandfather. For 3 years now, she has lived at Preda. In the meantime, she trusts enough to speak about her feelings.
Bali po sa gabi, hindi ako makatulog ng...
Sometimes there are nights when I can't sleep because suddenly the incident will appear as it happened to me.
Relax ko, pumapasok pa rin sa isip ko. Nangyari sa akin, yung lagi na...
The bad dreams are always the things that happened to me when I was very young and I was raped by my grandfather.
Bata pa ako nun. Yung lagi napapanaginipan ko. Yun natin pa rin.
Singing and art as a form of therapy. Psychologist Karina encourages the girls to see and hold on to the beautiful paintings of life. Besides group therapy, the employees of Preda also take much time for more private sessions. Today, Lisa's mother has come. Social worker Mary David wants to talk about some of Lisa's problems. Recently, she has had trouble concentrating and has skipped school frequently. Sometimes she disappears for hours from the center without telling anyone where she is going. Together, they look for solutions so that Lisa can learn how to find her way in everyday life.
The tendency is they don't value themselves anymore because they thought, especially with our culture in the Philippines, they value so much about virginity. So they thought when the things happen to them, they are now worthless. And that's what we're trying to restore from them, that they were victims and it was not their fault. We assure them that we have to understand and accept them as they are.
Kim is 7 years old. Her mother is a Filipino prostitute, her father an American Marine. This battleship made out of Lego is Kim's only memory of her father who disappeared a long time ago. Kim's mother found herself another partner. Little Kim was sexually abused several times by her stepfather before he ran away from home with Kim's mother. Kim found shelter at Preda.
We're trying to provide a new childhood for children who have been robbed of it. Their basic human right is to have a normal childhood. And so we try to recreate, as best as possible, a chance for these children to know what it is to be understood, to be accepted, a chance for them to feel that they're loved and wanted. We have to help them to overcome the terrible effects of the abuse done to them.
At Preda, Kim has the chance once again to be what she really is, a playful child. Like most of the girls, Kim comes from the poorest of backgrounds. The only relative that will care for her is her grandmother. Staff members from Preda make regular visits to the relatives of the children. At present, Kim's grandmother must provide a loan for the family. She has 4 of her own children and 4 grandchildren. With a job at a laundromat, she earns too little to take care of everyone. Her house is decrepit and much too small. The social workers from Preda offer her help to help herself.
We invite the mother or any member of the family in our livelihood project. So as in preparation for the return of the child in the family, we provide some skills, vocational training to the mother and to any members of the family where we could return the child. So that in the future, we don't want that the child will return to the same environment where she was up to.
At Preda, little Kim is well provided for, but it will take some years before it is possible for her to be left to live with her grandmother again. Mary will never be able to return to her family. She was 10 when her own grandmother sent her to work as a prostitute on the streets. She had almost no time for school. At Preda, Mary receives special tutorial sessions in order for her to catch up on the years she has missed. In Father Shay's therapy center, Mary has learned to laugh once again. Her family lives in the slums of Manila. So if Mary is to have a future, she will have to rely on the support of Preda for a long time, and that costs money.
Where do you start and where do you stop? Tell me a better answer. Anybody out there, show me what to do. I'm welcome, great. If what we're doing doesn't make sense, fine. But we believe, children have a right, and if we have more support and more help, we can help many more children through this important project. We believe that, the quick handout, give them a dress and a meal, that's not good enough. They have more dignity, they have a right to more than that.
By dancing, Mary and the other girls learn to gain new feelings for their abused bodies. At present, the project offers enough room for 25 children. With the support of Kinder Nothilfe, the work of Preda will be further developed. There are concrete plans for a new house.
This used to be the old building where we had the street children for many years, and now we abandoned it, but we're going to build a new building, hopefully, down here in all this area, which you can see down before you. Budget that we need with funds.
In a meeting with his staff, Father Shay drafts new strategies for the extension of the work. Together they have made many gains. However, they are a long way from being satisfied.
We feel that people in the world are not yet alive. They're not yet woken up to this. They've heard about it, but they have not done enough. So we want people out there to do more, not just to say terrible thing, how bad it is, and shed a little tear. We want them to get up there and speak out and take action, do something. And even if it's just to contribute, from their resources to enable this work to go on. It's their choice.
Father Shay himself decided that for over 20 years he would fight for the rights and dignity of exploited children. As an Irish priest from the St. Columba's mission, he lives and works without end for his vision of a just world. What motivates him?
I'm not a very, what you call a holy or spiritual type of person. I just believe in what is basically right and wrong, true and false, good and bad, and I want to stand by that, and I'm very happy doing that. I enjoy it. Other people enjoy their work or driving their BMW or whatever. I mean, this work, I feel I'm doing some good, and I'm happy to do it.
Father Shay's Preda Center has become a signal of hope. These young girls needed help, and they found help. Today they are working on their future. Marlon, the former child prostitute, has already forged concrete plans. She wants to become a social worker.
I learned to accept who and what I am. Because before I didn't know, I didn't accept. I think life is very, very hard for me because because I believe that I am look like a garbage. But now, when I'm stay here, my dignity came back, and I become a very independent person.